Okay, look at a bearded guy for a second. Really look at him. He's got more hair on his jaw right now than most animals have anywhere on their entire body. And nobody around him thinks that's weird. It should be weird, because technically he's not supposed to have that anymore. None of us are. The whole story you've probably heard is that humans lost their fur, evolved out of it, shed it like a phase we grew out of. Except in 2018, a team of researchers actually sat down and counted skin samples under a microscope, humans right next to chimpanzees, and the number of hair follicles came back almost identical. Not close, not similar, basically the same. Which means, and I want you to actually sit with this for a second, you are not less hairy than a chimpanzee. You have the exact same amount of hair growing real estate on your body that it does. So the fur didn't disappear. Something else happened to it. And whatever that something was, it left a few places completely untouched. Your scalp, your eyebrows, and on men specifically, one patch of skin that's somehow more exposed to danger than almost anywhere else on the human body. The jaw. Nobody agreed on why for decades. Then a group of scientists built an actual machine, specifically to punch a fake human face, over and over, on purpose, and the answer it gave them was not what anyone expected walking in. But before we get to a machine punching a face, we need to figure out where all that fur actually went first. Go back roughly 2 million years. Your ancestors are living on the open African savanna, thick fur like every other primate around them, good insulation, good sun protection. But there's a problem, and it only shows up the moment you actually have to move fast for a long time. Because your ancestors weren't just walking, they were running prey animals into the ground. Animals that were faster than them for hours in open heat, a method called persistence hunting. Track it, chase it, don't stop. Let the animal's own body overheat before yours does. In 2004, biologists Dennis Bramble and Daniel Lieberman published research in the journal Nature. Endurance running, they showed, is a trait built directly into the genus Homo. But thick body fur traps heat, and a hunter who overheats mid-chase doesn't catch anything. He collapses. So something had to give. And here's where that 2018 follicle study gets genuinely interesting. The same researchers found humans have roughly 10 times more sweat glands than chimpanzees. 10 times. But there's a catch. Skin only has so much room on it. You can't pack in that many extra sweat glands and still keep the same thick hair follicles running at full size. One had to shrink to make room for the other. So evolution picked cooling over coats. Vellus hair, thin, pale, practically invisible, replaced the thick stuff almost everywhere. You became basically a long-distance running machine with built-in air conditioning. But losing that fur created a brand new problem nobody had to deal with before. Bare skin under direct equatorial sun all day, every day. UV radiation doesn't care that you're trying to cool down. It damages DNA either way. So skin pigmentation had to evolve almost immediately after purely as damage control. That part of the story is genuinely wild on its own and honestly deserves its own video. But right now, here's the actual point. If losing thick hair was such a massive upgrade everywhere else on the body, why didn't it happen everywhere? Because it very specifically, very deliberately did not. Start with the scalp, since it's the most obvious exception and also the most misunderstood one. Most people assume it's just insulation, keeping heat in. But that's backwards. Your scalp takes the single most direct hit of overhead sun of any part of your entire body. Thick hair up there blocks a huge percentage of that radiation before it ever reaches your skull, protecting the one organ evolution really did not want damaged, your brain. So scalp hair stayed thick, but that still leaves a stranger mystery sitting right below it. Eyebrows. Tiny strips of hair doing what exactly? Turns out, quite a lot. They channel sweat and rain away from your eyes before it blinds you mid-stride. But there's a second function that has nothing to do with survival at all. Eyebrows are some of the most expressive, mobile muscles on your entire face. A flash of surprise, a flicker of suspicion, recognizable instantly in any culture on Earth. A silent communication system that almost certainly existed before language did. So that's the scalp and the eyebrows, both explained by real functional jobs. But then there's a third region that gets awkward fast: underarms and the groin. Both erupt with thick terminal hair right at puberty, and only at puberty. That timing alone tells you something. It's controlled by hormones, specifically androgens, specifically testosterone. Those exact regions also happen to be packed with a specific kind of sweat gland called apocrine glands that release a slightly different, scent-carrying kind of sweat than the ones cooling the rest of your body. And hair increases surface area, which means it holds and slowly releases that scent for far longer. In plain terms, evolution may have kept hair specifically there to broadcast a chemical signal. One quick thing, because we're about to get into the strangest, most contested part of this whole video. If this kind of deep dive is worth your time, subscribe. It genuinely helps. Alright, back to it. Because everything so far has a clean, testable explanation. Scalp protects the brain. Eyebrows redirect sweat and signal emotion. Underarms and groin broadcast scent. The beard does not fit that pattern nearly as cleanly. The beard only grows on men. It only shows up at puberty, driven by the exact same hormonal switch as everything else. So on paper, it should just be another signal, like the rest. And for a long time, that's exactly what most researchers assumed: a pure status display. Studies led by researcher Barnaby Dixon found that a full beard consistently makes men look older, more socially dominant, and more aggressive to people rating their photos, both to women judging attractiveness and to other men judging who not to challenge. An honest advertisement of maturity and testosterone that's expensive and hard to fake. That theory holds up fine, but it leaves one detail completely unexplained. Why the jaw specifically? Out of every location on the human body that could carry a hormone-driven display, why that exact spot? In 2020, a team at the University of Utah, led by biologist David Carrier, actually decided to test it. Not with real punches, obviously. They built fake facial bone out of composite plastic and covered it in sheep fleece to model human beard hair. Some samples left fully furred, some sheared down short, some plucked completely bare. Then they used an actual mechanical drop weight impact tester and struck every sample repeatedly with a heavy weight. The results? The furred samples absorbed 37% more energy on impact than the bare ones, and under a strike hard enough to shatter every single plucked sample, only 45% of the bearded ones actually broke. The beard was functioning almost exactly like a helmet for one of the most frequently broken bones in a fistfight, the jaw. Which suddenly reframes the entire earlier theory. A beard doesn't just announce that a man might be dangerous to fight, it may also make him measurably harder to actually injure once that fight starts. Status and armor evolving on the exact same patch of skin for two completely different reasons at once. Now, to be fair, not everyone agrees. Some scientists pushed back hard on this study, arguing that sheep fleece isn't a perfect stand-in for real human beard hair, and that correlation isn't the same thing as proven cause. That criticism is fair and worth taking seriously. But even the skeptics admit something strange is going on, a trait that just so happens to sit exactly on the one bone in the human face that breaks the most. So zoom all the way back out now. You didn't lose your fur. You relocated it on purpose, follicle by follicle, over roughly 2 million years, off the torso to make room for the sweat glands that turned you into an endurance machine. Kept thick on the scalp to shield the one organ evolution couldn't afford to risk. Kept in the armpits and groin to carry a sense signal that started the moment puberty flipped a switch. And kept very specifically on the one bone in a man's face most likely to shatter in a fight. Here's a real question, and I genuinely love your take on it. Do you think the beard is mainly a signal, mainly armor, or genuinely both at once? Tell me down in the comments, I actually read them. And if this changed how you'll look at a beard tomorrow morning, tap a like before you go. Because next time you catch a bearded stranger on the street or feel your own jaw under your hand, you're not looking at leftover fur nobody bothered to shed. You're looking at 2 million years of evolution deciding very deliberately exactly where to leave the last of it behind.